Did you see the memo about this?
Yeah, I have the memo right here. I just, forgot.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 90s movie tropes.
God, I love being a turtle!
Are you gonna let a monkey make a monkey out of you?
What? What I'm trying to say is, we need your help!
Yeah, but I'm a baseball player now.
For this list, we're looking at cliches, archetypes, and themes that were especially prevalent during this decade. Which 90s tropes do you miss the most, and which do you think should stay in the past? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. Scrappy Misfits Save the World. Hollywood became obsessed with destroying the planet in the 90s. On the silver screen, that is.
They're using our own satellites against us. And the clock is ticking.
Whether it was aliens in Independence Day, a comet in Deep Impact, or a twister in Twister, disaster equaled big bucks.
Cow. I gotta go, Julia. We got cows.
Instead of Schwarzenegger or Stallone, however, it was now up to a ragtag group of unlikely heroes to save the world. Be it a dorky tech guy, a so-called crazy person nobody believed in, or a bunch of blue-collar drillers, Hollywood wanted to sell the idea that any average Joe in the audience could prevent doomsday. Even Matthew Broderick could go up against Godzilla. Right.
Matthew Broderick did not kill Godzilla. He killed a big, dumb lizard that was not the real Godzilla.
If only it weren't for that one military figure who constantly undermines our scrappy protagonists. When will they learn?
Look, they're the best at what they do.
So am I. And I'm not so optimistic.
Number 9. The truth comes out. Honesty is the best policy, unless you're a 90s protagonist. Various movies from the decade had a character lie about their identity or true intentions.
I didn't pay you to take out cats so that some little punk could snake me with Bianca.
Nothing in it for you, huh?
In some cases, this would involve a bet where a bad boy has to date a social outcast, only to develop legit feelings.
Is that true? My bet? My bet?
In other cases, someone would dress as the opposite gender to see their children or join the army.
Daddy?
Yeah, honey. It's me. Happy birthday.
In any case, the truth always comes out at the 11th hour, leading to about 10 minutes of self-reflection before the hero finds redemption and forgiveness in the climax. This trope was especially popular in animated films, from Aladdin to Anastasia to A Bug's Life. The moral of the story? Tell the truth. Or don't, and it will probably work out anyway.
Tell me this isn't true.
No, you don't.
This couldn't have happened at a more inopportune time.
Number 8. Ninjas. Before zombies and vampires were all the rage, ninjas dominated pop culture in the 90s. This trend arguably started when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles became a surprise box office smash, making almost 15 times its budget.
Well, it was a shell of a good hit. I like it.
There wasn't a 90s kid who didn't want their own katana blade or nunchucks, which might be why their weapons were downplayed in the sequel. Nevertheless, the craze continued, with the Power Rangers receiving ninja powers and ninja zords in their first movie.
Check it out.
Ninja Zord, cool. Yes. Awesome.
Scorpion and Sub-Zero made their theatrical debut in Mortal Kombat.
Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Deadliest of enemies, but slaves under my power.
Move aside.
And since this trope was especially popular with kids, young martial artists would take center stage in movies like Three Ninjas and Surf Ninjas, two of the most 90s things ever to come out of Hollywood. Number 7. Not being satisfied with your mundane life. Whereas most of these tropes were prominent throughout the decade, this one defined 1999 in particular. Several high-profile movies that came out this year centered on men stuck at dead-end office jobs who want more out of life.
Everything's a copy of a copy of a copy.
This ranged from blockbusters like The Matrix, to Best Picture winners like American Beauty, to eventual cult favorites like Fight Club and Office Space.
Peter, would you be a good sport and indulge us and just tell us a little more?
Oh, yeah.
The characters in these movies rebelled against the system by blackmailing their bosses, spreading mayhem, or taking the red pill.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
The trend seemed to mark a shifting attitude in society. People were tired of conforming to a cookie-cutter lifestyle, and 1999 was the wake-up call.
Lester, just stop it!
No. You don't get to tell me what to do. Ever again.
These movies suggested that the 2000s and beyond would look far less traditional. And they weren't wrong. Number 6. A monkey. People are bananas about monkeys, right? Well, that is apparently what Hollywood executives thought in the 90s.
That's okay, Spike. There's nothing more we can do.
For a period, monkeys, orangutans, chimpanzees, and other primates populated the big screen. We're not sure why, as these movies usually didn't ignite the box office. Sure, the Ace Ventura movies and George of the Jungle performed well, but the monkeys and apes were only sidekicks in those comedies.
George, remember everything I taught you about Queensberry rules and fighting fair?
Uh-huh.
Well, now's a good time to forget it.
Whenever the hairy animal was the main focus, we'd get a dud like Monkey Trouble, Dunstan Checks In, or Ed. I guess the mentality was that monkeys cost less than celebrities. So play up the monkey in the marketing and hope that kids drag their parents to the theater. See, this is what running out of ideas really looks like.
Monkey!
Number 5. Skater and surfer dudes. Few activities epitomize the 90s more than skateboarding and surfing. It's only natural that both would surface in motion pictures. Skater and surfer dudes were always distinguished by luxurious heads of hair and totally radical attitudes.
ASL.
Amateur Skateboarding League. This clarity thing has brought me to like a whole new level. I mean, like my skating, you gotta see it.
While we regularly saw such archetypes in supporting roles, some movies gave them the spotlight. We already mentioned surf ninjas, but the decade's most famous surfer movie is easily Point Break.
Whoa, you're surfing, man!
You can't go wrong with Keanu Reeves as an athlete turned FBI agent turned surfer. These characters extended to movies about inline skating like Airborne and Brink, which you can tell came out in the 90s based on their titles. The best film about 90s skateboard culture was arguably mid-90s, which ironically did not come out in the 90s.
So let me ask you a question, man. What y'all doing with the skating?
I just have fun skating. It's like, it makes me happy and smile, so I just skate every day.
Number 4. Computer wizardry. There's a reason we have the term computer wizard.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Home computers only became common in the 80s, and the internet in the mid-90s. It was new and strange technology that might as well have been magic. And that seems to be the approach that 90s movies took when it depicted anyone on a computer, allowing them to accomplish just about anything with a few keystrokes, even sabotaging alien spaceships.
Hey, all right, look at us. Take a look at the Earthlings. Goodbye.
Admittedly, this trope started earlier, with movies like 1983's War Games, but it remained in full force in the 90s, especially when it came to teens with miraculous skills.
Yo, kinda feel like God.
Number 3. The Underdog Sports Team. Allow us to recap virtually every 90s sports movie. There's a struggling sports team that everyone views as a joke.
Just so you know, you really suck.
Hey, I'll decide who sucks around here.
The lineup includes a rebel who needs to learn the value of teamwork, the nerd who wears thick glasses, the player who loves to eat, and other stock characters. It isn't until they find a coach seeking redemption and/or an unlikely star player that they suddenly become all-stars.
Let's see if I remember how to do this.
They may lose one major game, but after a training montage, they'll be on their way to the championship against a villainous rival team. It'll be a close call, but our underdog heroes ultimately emerge victorious by a narrow margin. Now, imagine at least one of those movies coming out every year for a decade. Number 2. The Makeover. 90s movies had a tendency to simplify high school.
I've got an idea. Let's do a makeover.
If you were a jock, you were a jerk. If you were a cheerleader, you were a mean girl.
What if Sydney killed Casey and Steve?
Why would she do that?
Maybe she had the hots for Steve and killed them both in a chest range.
If you were a nerdy girl, you could become the most desirable student in school by simply removing your glasses, getting your hair done, and reevaluating your wardrobe. That last trope in particular is peak 90s. It's safe to say that whenever we hear "Kiss Me" by Sixpence None the Richer, we think of the new Laney Boggs descending downstairs.
Kiss me, bring
Nothing screams "I just got a makeover" quite like walking in slow motion. It just goes to show that with a little work, you can go from being a bombshell to still being a bombshell. Before we unveil our top pick, here are some honorable mentions. Parents out of town? Throw a party. Don't be surprised if mom and dad come home early. An old school hip-hop soundtrack. You know who needs his own movie? Vanilla Ice.
I'm like a surgeon and I'm merging, stay away or I slice. I don't sweat it under pressure cause I'm cool as ice.
Losing your virginity before high school ends. Celebrated in teen comedies, but advised against in slasher flicks.
It's more than an agreement.
What, a bet?
A pact. No money involved, more important than any bet. Here's the deal. We all get laid before we graduate.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Movie trailer announcers. Okay, technically this trope wasn't in the movies, but it was a major part of the motion picture experience during this decade.
This time, he's back. For good.
Nowadays, most trailers solely rely on clips with maybe some text. In the 90s, though, there was often an announcer describing the plot, listing off the talent, and saying the title. The late Don LaFontaine made a name for himself with his thunderous voice and 3 little words. In a world.
In a world fraught with corruption.
Those words were also often associated with Hal Douglas, who regularly lent his epic voice to trailers.
In a world where laughter was king.
For something a bit more whimsical, studios would turn to Mark Elliott. Any 90s kid who grew up with a Disney VHS collection will recognize his delightful voice.
Walt Disney Pictures presents an entertainment event you'll never forget.
Now, let's band together and bring this trope back. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.